and welcome back to the Spots of Wisdom podcast. I'm Shannon, I run Spot That Dog, and this is Jade.
I run that dog based in Wrexham.
So, today's episode, we are talking about behaviours that the general public think are okay in their dog. And then we'll elaborate on this one, but being an idiot with your dog. It's very vague at the minute, but we'll get there. Um, so Jade, what is one behaviour that the general public think is okay in their dog that you find extremely frustrating as a dog trainer?
Shall I go in with the top one? Shall I go
Yeah,
in for the one that's going to start a rant?
do it. Go.
I think the one I see the most in a class capacity is people that think it's okay to let their dog run off to go and say hello to another dog because they're friendly. And
Yeah,
that is my pet is a dog trainer. I could spend a whole hour just ranting about that alone. But yeah, I think as a member of the general public, you have a nice, friendly dog, and I'm sure they are all very friendly. You have nothing wrong in your head with letting your dog go and saying hello to all the dogs in the park because that's what dogs should be doing.
yeah,
It causes so many issues. So I see people that get, okay, so I'll do a different one. I see people
yeah,
that send their dog daycares,
yeah,
and the daycare is a big field, and all the dogs get to run around and play together, and life is good. And then the same owner takes their dog out to their local field, and their dog doesn't understand the concept of daycare or what's not daycare. And
yeah,
then you have all these recall issues. So, recall for me is a really, really big one. As a trainer, I'm probably over stingy with my recall. Actually, you
yeah,
might agree with me. There's any doubt in my mind that my dog is not coming back to me, my dog is not going off the lead.
yeah.
End of.
Bucky's been on
Doesn't
strict,
matter. Yep.
strict long lead prison
Yep.
for a good few months now after he
Yep.
ran through a bush.
Sherlock. Yep. Sherlock ignored my recall. First time in his life that he did it. It was a bit hormonal and he ignored me and I went, that's not acceptable. And he got lead detention. He wasn't allowed back off the lead until I was sure that he was coming back to me. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people are too lenient with it. They have this, and I get it, dogs should be able to go and run. I get it.
yeah,
But recall's a big one. If your dog's not got a
yeah,
recall, you don't let it off.
yeah.
End of.
And here, in this bit, basically, we're going to just reel off a few and discuss them.
Yeah.
But one that's
Go
just come into my head
Mhm.
is very, very niche, but
Okay, go
I
on.
find it quite funny. So we've previously sat for a dachshund, um, who peed everywhere in the house. In half an hour of me being there, I cleaned up 6 locks away. Yep.
She was wow.
And
Wow.
the owner came back and said, "Oh yeah, that's really common in dachshunds at that age. But doesn't mean it's okay. Like it might, I
No.
don't know. It might be a breed thing, but I know that so say they're really notorious to be hard to toilet train, but I
Even so,
also it's not acceptable either way.
no, no, no. I've had pet sits like that. Granted, I've not done it in a very long time,
Yeah,
but you sat watching the TV and the dog will just walk to the other end of the sofa and wee on the sofa.
yeah,
And you go, what?
yeah,
And then the owner goes, oh yeah, that they do that. They're not fully house trained. I'm like, what?
yeah. And it's different if they're like old, and
Oh yeah.
unfortunately is incontinence. But we have had dogs where they will just look at you straight in the eye and just cock their leg, and you're like, it's not okay. It's really not
Yeah.
okay. Like, unless, again, it's age or there's a medical issue. And I mean age as in
Yeah.
like they're 18 and crippled, not they're 6 months old.
Yeah. Oh, I've had that. My older dog went incontinent and he wouldn't even know he was doing it, bless him.
Yeah.
He'd just do it. That's different. But yeah, that's not okay.
No,
Not okay.
no, it wasn't.
Trying to think of some more now. It's all going to be like pet sitting scenarios.
It
So
is. Yeah.
It
about a mouthy
really is.
dog.
So, yes. Oh,
I
he does
don't.
that when he's overexcited.
Yeah, no.
No.
If you can't put your harness, your collar, a jumper, anything on your dog without them threatening to bite you, it's not
Yeah,
okay.
handling.
Yeah,
And I used to dog walk. The amount of dogs, you're walking a spaniel, for example, they're gonna get stuff
yeah,
stuck in their coat because that's the breed that they are.
yeah,
I should not feel in danger
yeah,
of taking a twig out of your dog's coat.
yeah.
And
Or
you
like
mention that to them and they
clean the
go, "Oh
feet
yeah,
at the end of a walk.
if I've been growled at and snarled at by so many dogs because I've lifted their feet up."
Yeah,
Oh yeah, he's like that when people handle their feet. I mean, it's different. Okay, controversial maybe. I don't need someone to be able to handle my dog. If I'm there and I can do it, that's fine.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that if I can't do it, that concerns me. If a complete
yeah. But
stranger can't do it, that's slightly, but
yes and no.
yeah,
I get your opinion, but again, coming from a pet sitter's point of view, if you're going to employ someone to take care of your dog, they need to be
oh yeah,
able
yeah.
to put a lead
Oh
on your
no.
dog. They need to be able to clean your dog's feet. They need to be able to put a harness on without fear that someone's going to bite you.
And I think if I was in a position where I needed a pet sitter and there was any part of me that thought there would be an issue, I'd either fix the issue before I got
Yeah,
the pet sitter, or I'd be very honest with the pet sitter and I'd go, look, my dog's not going to let you handle their feet. Please leave them in this room. Don't bother
yeah,
even touching them.
yeah. And it's like
Like, be
it,
honest. That's it.
it's not handling. It is handling, but it's not handling. So with Woody, obviously, because he's reactive, I'm a bit funny about other people walking him. So when I've had to get people to care for him, if I've been on holiday, my mum put the harnesses on. All my friend had to do was get him to the car and take him to the secure field, just so that
Yeah,
then she didn't have to deal with his reactivity. The most that
yeah,
she had to do is from my front door to her car, which is 3 meters. So I'm not going to put, and this is another dog trainer, so she can handle it. I'm not putting
yeah,
someone else under that pressure for something that's my issue.
yeah. No, I agree. No, completely. Trying to think, yeah, mouthing is always a big one. Mouthing when you're putting equipment on is a big one.
And I think it's different if it's a display of pain, because
Yes.
we should be
Yeah.
made aware of that, but then also
Mhm.
something should be being done about that.
Yeah.
But when they're that way because it's a behavioural issue or lack of training, or again, people just think, oh, they're a dog, it's fine, then it's a different story.
I have another one.
Yeah,
And I feel slightly hypocritical saying this one because my dog does it, but it's a work in progress. Before
yeah,
anyone comes at me, it's a work in progress. Counter surfing. So
yeah,
I have been, and not just counter surfing where they kind of just put their feet up to see what you're doing. I have been to clients' houses where I have been trying to give a consult of some description, and their dogs have not only counter surfed, but have jumped on the table,
yeah,
4 feet on the table, and they're robbing me of
yeah.
stuff out of my bag, or they're drinking my coffee that's on the table, and people have just gone,
Or
haha, that's how he does it.
the
That's
videos of those
so
beagles. The bloke's trying to fucking cook a meal on the table and he's got these two beagles launching at him. That's not okay. Like, even putting
but
that
then,
video out on TikTok or YouTube is not okay.
but then I find as well to add to that a little bit, I'm going to upset some people. It tends to be little dogs. So I have been to a consult for, I won't name the breed, but they are a
Yeah,
small breed. And I have been sat there trying to talk to the owners, and one of the dogs has jumped up and pulled my ponytail, like full on tried to play tug of war with my ponytail. And then they've jumped onto the table next to me, and I've turned around and they're full on drinking my coffee. And they just go, "Oh, look, they've got such personality. Look at them being really cheeky." No, that's not
no,
acceptable. And B, if that was a German Shepherd jumping up
yeah,
and biting my hair, that would not be okay. So
no,
it's not okay
no.
dog to do it either.
And we can push that on to people thinking that because small dogs are small, that different behaviors are less important to train. So small dogs pulling, small dogs barking, um, all of those issues, just because they're small doesn't mean you shouldn't be training it.
100%. I think, yes, it's more obvious if you've got a big dog that there's stuff that you need to work on because the dog looks bigger, so it looks worse.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean to just be really lazy with your training because you've got a small one.
yeah, definitely.
Door dashing, that's another
Definitely
one.
this. Oh, I've had
Dashing.
we have had that issue. However, it was a one and done. And I
Yeah.
was on my way out. I was on my way out with Woody. I opened the door. I went to close the other door behind me and didn't see that there was another dog coming down the road. So obviously he's ran out to react to it. And because the lead wasn't ran on
Mhm.
my hand properly, I let go. Didn't do anything. Nothing happened. He just barked at it. Um, we straight out after that. He doesn't go outside the front door until I'm outside the front door and I've checked that the coast is clear. So it was a oh shit, that's happened. We need to do something about it kind of thing. Like we're not letting it
You fixed
continue to be an
it,
issue.
though. You fixed it
Yeah,
or managed it, fixed it,
yeah.
one of the two.
And we do like
But
our weight
yeah,
training and door boundary training, but it was, I'm not going to let the issue persist.
yeah. I think that's a good point for any behavior, isn't it? If there's something that's if it happens once, it happens once. Like it'd be a oh sugar, that shouldn't have
Yeah,
happened moment. And fix it.
yeah.
What else? What else? Jumping up,
I
that's
feel like it's
one.
something that it depends on the scenario. So we teach an up for a down with my dogs. They're not allowed to jump
Yeah.
up off their own accord. They can come up if I've offered them
Both of
up.
mine both of mine will jump up if I ask them to. But again, see again, Kevin weighs 36 kilograms. I do not want him running up to
No.
my one of my old neighbors and
Yeah,
throwing himself at them because
yeah.
he's going to do some damage.
And
In the
it's
same
something,
respect, if I had a little tiny chihuahua, I also wouldn't want my dog running over and
yeah.
jumping up on somebody.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those like jumping up tends to be something that everyone faces, and it is something that people struggle with. Um,
Yeah,
so it just depends on the dog. Like it doesn't depend on the dog. Like it shouldn't be done, but equally, I'm not someone who cares. I just push them down and they get on with life. Um, but yeah, it still doesn't mean that it's an acceptable behavior that you don't train out.
that one's slightly different as well because whilst we're talking about the general public, you are relying on the general public to help you out with that one
Yeah,
because you say to people, ignore them if they're jumping up or don't give them
yeah,
any attention when they're jumping or this or that or whatever. And they all go, oh, no, it's
yeah,
fine. And then reinforce your dog. So that one, I suppose, is slightly different in that you are relying on other people to help you with your training.
yeah. And
And quite
then
often, or don't.
one that I don't like, and I know a few people's dogs do this, so I might offend a few people I know.
Mm,
Biting the lead.
go for it.
Why is your dog
Oh,
that frustrated that they bite the lead?
so many.
And they know that I'm gonna offend a
Well,
few
this
people
is
there.
going to offend people as well. So I'll join your club. People that just stand there and let their dog do it.
Yeah,
Like you stood there having a conversation with somebody and you look down and the dog's
they're like
just
this
like
because the
got,
dog's just tugging on their arm, and you're
yeah.
like,
And they're trying to
yes,
have a conversation with
yeah.
arms are doing this. And you're just like, are you going to stop them? Are you going to like take
He's
off
like,
them?
just
Why
give
are
them
you
an
going to tell them to
alternate
drop?
behavior or
And
something. Like, figure it out.
I've had it before where a dog has chewed through a lead whilst it's been sat in a training class.
Yeah,
So the owners have sat there, they know it or not, but the owners have sat there and have obviously just gone, oh, my dog's quiet. This is nice.
because your dog's
And
not
then all of a
there.
sudden the dog like wanders off because it's chewing. But yeah, I just think, your dog's doing something. There's nothing wrong with stopping your dog from doing that in that moment.
Yeah,
Like I don't mind. Like ignore me for a minute.
Yeah,
That's fine while you sort your dog out. No problem. Um, but yeah, just the dog having a really good time chewing a lead.
yeah. And then like
No.
I think this will tie into the next bit we were going to talk about because this little segment might be short and sweet. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think resource garden's okay.
Right.
However, obviously,
Yeah.
like we'll go on to, dogs do need to be able to express their emotions and feelings, and
Yeah.
if they're growling at you, it's because whatever they've got is valuable and they think you're trying to take it. Right, we get that.
Yeah.
However, not that I will ever try and take anything off my dog. I don't take food off my dog. If I give my dog food, they get food. The only
Yeah.
time, the only time anything gets taken away from my boys is if they start arguing over it, and then I'll take it away.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
only time, just to save fights. Not that they have, but that's because
Yeah.
I get in there in the way and I stop it before it happens. I don't, again, it's going to offend people, but resource guarding isn't, to people, it's not okay. You will get dogs that will resource guard to other dogs. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just, it is part of nature. It is one of those things that is a communication thing, but you shouldn't have to fear about like picking up a tissue off the floor. I had a dog, I think I've mentioned this before. I had a dog that I was sitting who was sick. So I tried to clean it up and he tried to bite me as I was trying to clean up his sick because he was resource gardening his sick. So that's not okay. That's not normal. That's not an
So like,
acceptable behavior.
yeah, like resource guarding, I get it, is to some dogs a natural
Yeah,
dog behavior. It's natural for them to do that. It's natural for them not want to not want to share things. I get
yeah.
that completely. But then I also get what you've just said. Just because it's natural, it doesn't mean you should then live with that either.
No. And I think it depends on the circumstance. Like I said, like if Woody's got a treat and Bucky's trying to steal it, then yeah, fair enough. Growl at him and tell him to back
Yeah.
off
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's trying to steal what is yours. However, if I then want to take it away from them both, and that might be controversial, but for me, it's because it then applies to everything else. Like if I drop a paracetamol on the floor and the dog tries to take it, I'm not going to have a dog that guards over a paracetamol because it's dangerous. So I think there's just a line on a dog who resource guards to other dogs or a dog that resource guards in general to people and everything. Again, like I said, I've had a dog who is very fucking extreme and they have resource guard their own sick. Like it's not suitable, it's not really acceptable, it's actually quite dangerous. Again, all it is training, regardless of his behavior or not. It can all be trained. Um, it isn't one that I necessarily agree
Like
with.
you've just said. So like I will give my boys a chew each. I'm sure you are aware that when you give a multi-dog household, that chews each. They don't want the one they've got, they want the one
Yeah,
that the other. So there will usually be a swap. It's usually quite funny. I'll give them one each. They'll spit theirs out. They'll go and sniff and take the other ones, and then they're quite happy in that
yeah,
respect. Kevin's a pushy puppy, so he will come along and he'll be like, "Oh, what have you got?" And he'll shove his nose in to see what Sherlock's got. Sherlock will do a bit of a lip lift, and Kevin will go, "We're okay,
yeah.
that's fine. I'll go and eat my chew over there."
And that's
Um,
just a bit of
and
communication
that's
between
fine.
dogs.
If Kevin was in the room and Sherlock saw him and then went to savage him across the room, that would be different.
Yeah,
Also, both my dogs have no resource guarding with me.
yeah, mine don't either.
They will come up to me and they'll go, "Hold this chew for me, please."
Yeah,
And I'll have to hold like manky chews whilst they're eating it. Um, but again, I know so many people that they either don't give their dog chews at all because they're
yeah,
too scared of consequence, or they're kind of like having to do that thing where they kind of tiptoe around them.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's your house, like at the end of the day.
Did
Like,
you see the lady in the news who her 11-year-old dog bit her face off?
oh yes, I did. She's all
All
over.
because, oh my God. I
Yeah.
watched her video as well and it annoyed me. She's got an 11-year-old Catahoula dog or something like that, who decided one day just to freak out and savage her face off.
Which is
In
how
this,
it's portrayed in social media.
Yeah,
It's all my 11-year-old dog bit me out of nowhere.
yeah. But then when you watch her video, she said in this instance that he gave no signs, this, that, and the other. But as she goes on to it, he is a known resource guarder who resource guards her bed and regularly gives her different signs that he doesn't want her near the bed. Well, in this instance, she went over to give him a kiss while he was led on the bed for him to then savage her. Well, if you've got a dog that you know is a resource guarder, you don't do that. And that for me, that's actually one of the really big resource guard issues. If you've got a dog and you can't sit on the sofa or you can't sit on your own bed, we're
Yeah.
not talking the old school pack shit. We're talking a dog that's got severe behavioral issues, which needs sorting out.
Yeah. I
I
think there's
can
a line
give the treat.
yeah, there's a line in one of her videos or something, and it says, I know that there's a certain time of day
Yeah.
where he doesn't tolerate me pestering him.
Yeah. The
Well,
key
that's
word there is
right,
pestering.
number one. Like, yeah, like, geez. Same as you. I have no issue with my dogs on the sofa. I have no issues with dogs on beds. I have no issues with dogs sitting on knees. If your dog is showing resource guarding of the bed, so they won't let people in the bed, or they won't get off the bed when you tell them to get off the
Yeah.
bed,
They don't have access to the
you
bed though.
don't go on it. Like, end of. So people always say to me, they're like, my dog sleeps on my bed, is that okay? And they like look at me like I'm going to shout at them. And I'm like, well, can you get them off the bed when you want them to? Yeah. Do they growl at you or any of that when they're on it? No. You're fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
Definitely
yeah.
personal preference, but
Oh,
if your
100%.
dog's, yeah,
Yeah.
if
Like,
your
if you
dog's a
don't
danger
mind the
visit, then
dog
that'll
on the
happen.
sofa, then that's fine. If you did have a problem with your dog on the sofa, I can train you how to teach them
Yeah.
to. But if your dog is displaying resource guarding behaviors, absolutely not.
No, definitely not. Right.
Definitely not.
Let's go on to the
That leads
second
on to
subject.
actually really nice.
Introduce this subject, Jade, because this was your
Oh
one.
no, parenting. People that behave like idiots towards their dogs. So what I mean by that, I guess kind of following on from the story you just talked about, people that knowingly do stuff to their dogs, maybe unknowingly actually, but they do stuff to their dogs that is going to trigger a reaction.
Yeah.
Not shocked when there is a reaction. So I will give an example of kind of like what I mean. So I have so many people that come to classes, not just there's multiple, and they come to classes and they go, my dog is growling at me when they're lying on the sofa. And I'll go, right, explain what you mean by that.
Yeah.
99% of the time, what they mean by that is their dog is asleep on the sofa, fast asleep on the sofa, and they go up to it and decide they want to fuss it or they want to pick it up or they want to cuddle it or whatever else. And they go up to their fast asleep dog and get right in its face and they're like all over it. And the dog growls at them.
Yeah.
At least growls at them. It could snap at them, but at the very least, they growl at the person. And then the person goes, oh, my dog's aggressive. And I'm like, how would you
Your
like it
dog's
if you were,
communicating.
yeah. And if somebody came over to you while you were asleep and got really in your face, what's your reaction going to
I'm pretty
be?
sure I've thrown
And
a
they go,
shoe
yeah,
at
but
my door before when
I want
people come in to wake me up.
it. And I'm just like, why do you need to do that in the first place, for
Yeah.
starters? And they go, well, how can I fix it? And they're determined that they want to fix it so that they're able to go up to their dog whenever they want to and just pick it up. And
And I
in my
think
opinion, that's not necessary.
now, and I think that leads going back to again to the conversation we just had, that leads quite well because you've got the old school thing of you should be able to put your hand in your dog's bowl. Well, why? Why? Like, you don't need to take your dog's food and you're not going to eat it yourself, are you? Do you really want some, like, bloody
Need
biscuits
to.
and gravy? Like, you don't. There's no reason for you to do it. Like, if you've forgotten to put something in there, then you do it after. Like, there should be no reason that you need to take your dog's food away from them. Like, if someone took your plate away halfway through eating, you'd be flipping fuming.
I'd be fuming.
Like,
Like
it's
if you'd sat
okay.
down to eat the pizza at the
Oh, yeah,
diner
can you
all day
imagine?
and somebody came and, oh, but yeah, there's this thing, isn't there, where, people create issues by doing things that they shouldn't even be doing in the first place. So,
Unnecessary
like
things.
with
Yeah.
the resource guard, yeah, so like they'll go, I made sure my dog didn't resource guard. So, what I've been doing is every time they're eating, I shove my hand in the bowl to make
Yeah.
sure that they can tolerate that. And then they come in 3 weeks later and they're like, oh, my dog started resource guarding. Well, you've just created a
Yeah.
problem that was never there in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like when I was growing up and probably when you were growing up, if the dog was eating, you were told not to go near the dog when it was eating. Like,
We've just
leave the
never
dog alone,
had,
it's eating.
yeah, we've just never
Right?
had any need to do it. Like, I just don't see the point in it, to be honest with you. There's no need for you to have to take your dog's food away from them. Like, it's different. Okay, if they've got a hoof and it lasts ages and you're about to go out and you don't want to have it anymore, then
Yeah,
fine. But food-wise, you don't need to be shoving your hand in your dog's bowl.
nope, not at all. I
And I
can't
think,
think of a logical reason for
no,
anyone to do that.
no. And I think there's a lot of behaviors that people will sit there and think, but like actually it is all down to the individual dog. There's different things like I can pick Woody up if I wanted to. It is a it is an idiotic behavior. I could pick him up if I wanted to. Bucky wouldn't like it. So if I try and then pick Bucky up, he's not gonna like it. So what's the point of me doing it? That would be a really stupid thing for me to do because I'm just gonna freak my dog out.
Yeah, yeah, it's not necessary. It's like doing stuff that you know that your dog is not gonna like for your benefit. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
Like, don't get me wrong. On the flip side of that, I guess, Sherlock is deaf. He can be fast asleep. I can walk up to him.
yeah,
I can tap him on the shoulder. And he wakes up and he goes, right, what's going on? And I'll tell him to move or whatever. He's
yeah,
fine. So do I think my dogs would tolerate that? Yes. Would I try it? No.
yeah,
I mean, I love my dog to bits and I can get him to move and that's fine. Would I ever go up to him whilst he was asleep and shove my face in his face? Absolutely not.
yeah.
See why that's necessary.
No, I definitely
Like at
agree, and
all.
I just think I have got two ideas in my head, but I can't say them because they're very close to home. So we're not gonna discuss it here. Um, but just like I said, like stupid things like picking your dog up, you don't really need to do it, do you? Like, especially dogs our size, you don't need to be picking up a 30-kilo dog for any sort of reason. What to prove that you can do it? Like, what's the point? There's really
Yeah.
no point. You're going to scare your dog. You're probably going to like loosen your relationship a bit and make them resent you a little bit more. There's just really, unless you have to, because you're needing to like, I don't know, put them into the car or
I don't know, maybe you
something. It's
deep.
different.
Yeah. Although on the
If you're
flip
doing it
side,
just for the
Sherlock
sake
will
of it.
ask me to, yeah, Sherlock will come up to me and be like, carry me. And
Oh,
I'm like, no,
not
31
today.
kilograms, get down. Yeah, so yeah, stuff like that. And you get it all the time in classes. You know, like, oh, but my little girl really wants to pick the dog up to carry it around.
Yeah,
Well, she does, and I'm
yeah.
sure that that
There
would
you
be
go.
really lovely. It's not
Idiotic,
necessary.
idiotic behavior, and this will offend people, is parents who let their children do whatever the fuck they want to their dog.
And the dog should be able to tolerate it.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
expect
agree
the
with
dog
that,
to
by the
tolerate.
way.
No, I mean,
Expect the dog to
yeah,
anything. They're
like
a
you've got all
dog.
the
They make better
yeah,
decisions than others. Like,
yeah, and you've got a video like
yeah,
videos of the children climbing all over the dogs, and then like 2 weeks later, there's a storyline child mauled by Staffy or whatever, because that's always how the headlines come out when actually it is a chihuahua. But like,
yeah.
if you
I've had it
can't
with
teach,
Sherlock where, yeah, teach a child.
if this is going to be really deep, but if you can't teach your dog boundaries with animals and teach them how to respect animals, then how are they going to respect people?
No, I get that completely. I've been out with Sherlock and I've had children run over to him and just grab his ears or his
Yeah,
tail. And the parents just go, oh, she really loves dogs. And I'm like, well, you're lucky
oh,
that my dog is used to children and tolerates them because if that would have been some of the dogs that I teach,
yeah,
I dread what outcome
yeah.
would have been.
I just
Yeah.
think it's is actually a very entitled thing that people think that their kids should be able to do what they want and that the dog should just accept it because that's not the case. Like, it's no different from like if your partner just keeps fucking poking you at night and, well, you're in my bed, I should be able to. No, you shouldn't. If I don't want you to keep poking me, then what? Don't do it. And it's the same. You shouldn't keep doing things that you know might annoy your dog because it entertains you, or like you shouldn't let your children pull on your dog's ears because it entertains a child. Well, that dog's a living being. They still should have the entitlement
It's
to
like
live
the
how they
TikTok
want.
trend. So you get TikTok trends of people like swinging their dog round or
Yeah,
like really in their face or recreating something that they've seen because they think it's funny. And then I'm just like, I don't get what the point is. I don't understand what the point is. And then what happens is you then end up with a dog that's potentially then got a bite history
yeah,
that's then potentially ending up putting to sleep
yeah. Or actually, because the
because,
parents are a bit negligent.
yeah, yeah, I just don't get it. So there's one at the minute that my friend was telling me about. And similar thing, the dog has snapped and bitten a child. The dog has now been put to sleep because it snapped and bitten a child. And again, I don't know the full details of that case, but it does then make you wonder, is it something that the child has done
Yeah,
that now the dog is suffering for, when actually, if you'd have taught your child not to do certain things to your dog, it might not have been.
yeah. I think there's just obviously this is coming from someone who isn't a parent and whose lives revolve around my animals.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the
yeah,
minute that you create those tiers between your dog and children, and that actually they're not of the same value and they don't deserve the same respect, is when you've got an issue. Because regardless of whether you've got that like biological bond with your children or whether you've got a better bond mentally, that dog's still a sentient being that like deserves all the respect to actually just live a normal life.
100%. Like, yeah, completely agree. And then another one is people that, I'm trying to explain this in a way that makes sense. People that don't let their dog exhibit normal dog
Yeah.
behaviors, or people that don't expect, people that get a certain breed and then complain when it's doing what that breed was bred
Yeah.
for.
The amount of people that are like, oh, he just sniffs all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but what's wrong with that? What's
I've
wrong with that? And I've also had it. It is a client, he's got spaniels, and I told him about Woody, and he was like, well, I couldn't have a dog like that. I couldn't have a dog that growls. Like, I don't know how you do it. I get, we do the job. He pays very well.
yeah,
The dogs are all right. There's not really much problems with the dogs other than that they pull. But I've also got to then sit there and think he's a different generation
yeah,
where things were very different back then. And also the fact that he's got working dogs. They're not house dogs, they're kennel dogs.
yeah.
They are working dogs. They're not pets. So there's lines I've got to draw with that sort of thing. But actually, while his dogs probably wouldn't growl,
Yeah.
mine will. Mine does. And that's fine because I'm allowing my dog to communicate how he needs to. And it might just be his dogs don't need to communicate in that way. He may not put his dogs, not saying I put my dog in a position
Yeah.
too. His dogs may never be put in a position where they feel the need to growl because they're working and that is their life. Whereas Woody's reactive, he feels the need to communicate that way to other dogs because that's just how he makes life better for himself.
And then maybe again on the flip side, if he was living in the same situation as a working dog, maybe he wouldn't feel the need to growl. So, if they go from kennel to field back to
Yeah.
kennel again,
Well, he wouldn't have the
like,
situations too, would he? Like,
yeah, you know, it might be a case if he wouldn't be in that position to growl in the first place. But Yeah, I've had people before that have had spaniels and they message me and go, when does the sniffing stop? Like you've got a
Got a
spaniel.
spaniel.
Like that's all my answer is. Like you've
Yeah,
got a spaniel, like that's never going to stop.
yeah.
Or people get a loud dog and then complain that it's barking
I had
or
that short recently.
dog. Yeah, yeah. Or they get a dog that was bred for digging and then complain that it's digging.
Yeah,
And you just like, just with research, like research the breed and go, you know what? I don't want a dog digging up my garden,
yeah,
which is fine. Pick something.
yeah. Do your research behind the breeds before even getting anywhere to do it.
Yeah, and you'd be honest, like there are some, I think, I can't remember if we'd had this conversation or not. I have a list of breeds as long as your arm that I would never own in my
Oh yeah,
life.
yeah.
I
And I
would
think
start some.
for us, it's very different because we've had that background in work, like I said. So I worked in a daycare.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
on a busy day, we had 50 dogs across multiple paddocks. Um, so we were exposed to a lot of different dogs there. And then you get dog walking and sitting and training, and you soon know what you don't like.
Yeah, and I think as well, the slightly difficult bit is that we see the dogs that have issues. Nobody
Yeah,
comes to us for one because they have a perfect dog. That
yeah,
it doesn't happen. So we only see the ones that have the problems. So yes, they're a bit underrepresented, but I have a list of dogs that I used to want that I now 100% wouldn't touch
yeah.
because either they don't suit me, I don't like the problem behaviors that they display, or I'd break them. So
Yeah,
I'm
and I
going to
think
offend. Yeah,
no, I get you.
I wouldn't have
And
a border collie. That's
no,
not
I
to say I
wouldn't.
don't like them.
No, but
That's
then
not
it's
to
like
say I don't, they're amazing, but they wouldn't suit me and I'd
yeah,
break one, so I don't have one.
we agree on border collies, but as we found out, we don't agree on pointers. You would have a pointer. I would not step
I
foot near one.
a pizza tomorrow if I could have
Oh
one.
no, I
My friend
wouldn't
has
dare.
pointers, and we went out together last week. And her pointers and Kevin had like the best runabout ever, and her dogs are so well behaved. Like
No,
they're
they don't interest. But then like going to shows and stuff. So we obviously at a show yesterday, um, which is actually always really interesting. And we seen like 4 or 5 borzois. And I was like,
yeah,
oh my God, I need to do the research because I don't know anything about Borzois, but I just looked at them and I
yeah.
was like, you're so cool. Like, that's amazing. And then, like, for years, I like terriers. I really do like terriers. I don't care if they're mouthy or vocal. I love a terrier. And I've liked Cairn terriers for ages. So think of like Toto kind of vibe. And we seen 2 yesterday, and I was like, yeah, I would have a Cairn. I'd love to have a Jack Russell, but I would have a Cairn Terrier any day of the week. But equally,
You've just
again,
said
you
it
have to do the
beautifully though.
research.
Yeah, you've just said it beautifully though, because you've just gone, I know they're mouthy,
Yeah,
which, you've gone, you know what? I quite like a terrier. However, they can have some attitude. They can be a bit
yeah,
mouthy. That's fine. You've weighed that up. I'd have a
yeah.
Jack Russell. I'd love them. I
I
think
love them.
used to have one. They're great. But yeah, they're not a dog that you get if if you don't want the
And
attitude and you
vocal,
don't
yeah.
want that. Yeah, you don't get them otherwise, do you?
And
Like
that's a big
it'd be
point
like
in
getting
it, in going and doing your research because you'll find all the breed traits that they have that may or may not suit you. Like, obviously, we know that Dalmatians are energetic. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to go out on an evening to walk your dog, but you're happy to go on a hike on the weekend, then getting a Dalmatian is probably not the. I mean, you can do it. May not be the perfect match depending on the breeding. Whereas if you get something more like a lab, I suppose, because yeah, right, some labs have high energy, but some aren't. If you get a show lab, you can probably do hour plod around the block,
I
Monday to
teach them really
Friday.
nice show. Yeah. I teach them manic working line ones, but I teach them
Yep.
really nice show ones. We've said it before, I wouldn't recommend Dalmatians to everybody.
No,
That's not to say I
wouldn't
don't
do.
love them, but I wouldn't recommend
No,
them to everybody.
yeah,
So,
and it's
yeah,
like
and it
different breeds obviously communicate in different ways. Like between these two, Bucky's really vocal, but Woody isn't.
Yeah,
And if you don't want a dog that communicates through a lot of vocality, then you need to make sure you find a breed that isn't that way. You might have like Rotties are known for their growl. It's just one
yeah.
of those things.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean anything, but that's what they are known for. So if you don't want a dog that's that way vocally, then they aren't the dog for you,
Yeah. But yeah, don't then start punishing or getting annoyed with your dog because they're doing something
which is in their breed.
that they had to do, which they were gonna do
Yeah,
regardless. Like it makes no sense at all. It'd be like me getting a beagle and then complaining that it was making a noise. Like it,
I
you
love
just wouldn't do
beagles.
it. Make it.
I love beagles, and it is literally because they're so vocal and cheeky that I like them.
Yeah. See, it's nice because we both have completely different opinions on what breeds we would and wouldn't have.
We
Like
have like
completely
some we
different.
agree on, but then we also don't. The ones that we
Yeah.
dislike are completely different, but the ones that we like tend to be similar.
Yeah. Like I've been won over. I have some Italian Greyhound clients. Now
Yeah,
I'd never really look at a sight hound before.
yeah.
I'd totally have an
The
Italian
teeny weeny
Greyhound.
ones.
He, yeah, the really, really small
Yeah,
ones. And the two I have like the most hilarious attitude ever. And they wear all their little jumpers and they're really sassy and
yeah,
they have that zooming about that they do. And I'm like, I could see myself with one of them. Like when
yeah,
I'm a bit older, have a collection of them and it would be fine. But yeah, I just don't get it at all. Like people that come in that want a shepherd that's quiet and doesn't watch
yeah,
everything. Like you've got a shepherd.
yeah,
They're gonna be loud.
yeah.
Really? Yeah.
No, I definitely know what you mean. It's just one of those things, and I think, as always, our biggest piece of advice to everyone is just to do your research and a lot of it before you go out and get a dog.
Yeah, and speak to lots of different people that are gonna give you an honest opinion. They're
Yeah,
not just gonna go, oh yeah, they're lovely, just because they like the breed. They've got to be
yeah.
realistic and go, you know what? This
These are
one
the goods and
probably
bads.
isn't you.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'll say that to everyone. If anybody asks, "Oh, I'd like a Dalmatian," I'm like, "Well, this is the good bit,
yeah.
but this is
Can you
also the bit
handle
that
this
might
part?
drive you
Yeah,
completely." Like people that always complain about Dalmatian shedding.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. It's lovely, isn't it?
Like everywhere. It's now a way of
Glitter.
life. Yeah, I just go out covered in dog hair, and that's just part of my life now. It's fine.
Great fun. Right, guys, I think that is the end of today's episode. It has just been a bit of a ranty one, rather than anything
Good.
informative, but it's all good fun. We are hoping that our next episode will be all about crufts and the showing world of things. Obviously, we are off to crufts on the 7th of March.
Just
Um,
to say you should tell people why we're doing crafts because you're going there. That's why.
yes, we are doing a crafts episode because we are competing at crafts. Um, so that will be our next one from there. We'll probably talk about other stuff as well because we got a special guest again. But yeah, so as usual, like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, and we will be back for the next one. See you later.
Yeah. See you soon.